DVD about Bill Norton's life as part of this set of events. And we're interviewing people who had experiences in parallel. So we just want to make sure that you're happy to be interviewed for this DVD.
Yes, I am.
Okay. And just tell us what your name is and where you live.
I'm Jo Millward. I live at 53 Jethro Street, Tongfold, Bolton.
Okay, thanks. And I've talked about the things that I want to talk to you about. And the first one is about being brought up in Daub Hill.
Yes.
And the second one is about working in a weaving shed. So, to begin with, can you tell us where you were born and brought up, and about your mum and dad, and some of the shops and streets around where you were brought up in Double?
Yeah. Well, actually, it was just slightly out of Double. It was Bridgeman Street, but the area we did move into when I got married was in Double. But I was born at Moses Gate in Farnworth, and then my father was in the war and he got shrapnel wound. So when he came home from hospital, we moved to a house up near Bridgeman Street, Reservoir Street it was called. And the things I remember most about Double was the Tivoli Theatre and Drinans and Manfredi's, ice cream parlours.
Can you say what they were, what Drinans and Manfredi's and the Tivoli were?
They were ice cream parlours and temperance bars. As I got older, I was allowed...
Sorry, Joan. For this, you have to say, it'd be helpful if you said Drinans was an ice cream parlour.
Yeah.
And the Tivoli was a cinema. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, but didn't I say that?
You'd have to say it in the same sentence. Okay. So, could you tell me about Drinans and Tivoli and the other things that you remember around Derby Street?
Yes, there was the cinema Tivoli we used to go to. It was most enjoyable. We'd see films like, what was he called? Al Jolson. And he was one of my favourites because he was a good singer. I used to like singing. But I enjoyed going to the Tivoli. And near the Tivoli, there was a pet shop. And my mum used to send me to the pet shop we had various animals in our house. And my mum used to send me to the pet shop to buy food for them. And I came home one day and I said, Mum, I've seen a pet that I want. These are all yours and my sister's. I want this pet. So she said, oh, what is it? A puma. But I didn't get it, of course. So this pet shop had a cockatoo in that used to talk to you. Yeah, there were lots of things interesting around the area. And as I grew up and got older, I used to go to the temperance bar with friends from my school, which was Clarendon Street School. And that was off Bridgeman Street. And I had a friend that went to St Peter and Paul's School, which was off Derby Street. So we used to go together to the temperance bar, Drinans, and we'd have, if it was winter, we'd have hot Vimto or hot Oxo and meet boys there. Not that I was old enough to date then, but we used to be friends from school. So, and then we'd go as I got older, I'd go to the Palais dancing, and that's not so much about double, is it? Sorry.
No, but I'm very interested in the Palais because Bill Norton used to go to the Palais.
Yeah.
Tell us about a typical evening at the Palais, about whether you went on your own or with pals and who
Yeah.
the dance bands were. Talk us through a typical evening at the Palais.
Oh, I can't remember the dance bands' names, but I do remember my mum used to be a waitress at the Balmoral Hotel, and when she was a night off, I'd wear her black and white taffeta skirt with all the frills under, and a black jumper, and I'd go to the Palais with my friends, and we'd be dancing to the bebop and things. And I enjoyed that. It was lovely. This skirt, it was like two-sided. You could either have it black on one side or black and white check on the other. So I got 2 words out of it and nobody knew. So, yeah. I enjoyed that. We talked to boys and they'd invite you out for a smoke, but I didn't smoke, so that was no use to me. I had 1 or 2 friends that did go out to smoke and finished up with boyfriends, but I had 1 or 2 boyfriends, but because they didn't dance, I didn't want to go out with them anymore.
So did boys take you home, or an offer to take you home?
Just one where my friend asked me, she lived up Dobble, Linton Road, and I used to go and visit her at her home, and she asked me to go with her to meet somebody at Flash Street School in case this guy didn't turn up, who turned out to be my husband. Anyway, it was February, winter, and foggy, and this guy came striding out of the fog, and my friend introduced me to him, and he just said, "Hi, are you coming?" to my friend, and off they went and left me. So I thought, well, I'm not having a wasted journey. I went to the Odeon and I met a boy there. Well, I didn't meet him there, actually. I went in, watched the film, can't remember what the film was called, but when I went to the bus stop, I was wearing a black and white bob cap, and the boys in the next queue, which was going to Little Lever, bus queue from me, they were singing "Where Did You Get That Hat?" And this guy came over and he said, "I'm sorry about my friends. Would you like me to take you home?" And I said, "No, you're going a different way than me." So he said, "Well, it's all right." I said, "No, it's going to be the last bus. You're going to be, waylaid." "No, it's all right. I'll take you home." So we went upstairs on the bus, and when we got to my stop to getting off, well, before that, he said, "What's your name?" I said, "Joan." "What's your last name?" "I'm not telling you." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because..." "What's your last name?" He said, "I'm called Stott." I said, "Oh, that's my last name." So, why didn't you want to tell me? Because all my friends skip me and call me Snotty Stotty. So I didn't like that. Anyway, yeah, it didn't last long, that friendship. And then I left the mill. I was working at Perrott Street Mill by this time as a weaver. And my husband was in the army at the time when I was weaving, but he'd come out and my friend had gone, oh, he's lovely and tanned and tall and blonde. And so I left the Van Toner. I told you about that, didn't I?
Let's stop there, because we're jumping up ahead.
Yeah.
And of course, what you told me before...
They don't know.
No. Can we go back to Bridgman Street?
Yes.
Could you tell me about more local shops, or any about your neighbours, or what it was like living in the street you lived in?
Yeah. We lived in Reservoir Street. Our house was number 20, and it were 2 steps up to the front door. And our next door neighbour were an Irish family. They were called Gavin. And we used to call the lady that lived there with her brother and her son. And the lady used to come and sit on our front steps and knock with her hand on the back of the door. And you'd go to the door and she'd say, oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, has your mum got a bit of brandy? I'm not feeling very well. The other side from her was a Mrs. Brown. And my mum once sent me to ask for some bread for my father's lunch the following day. She'd run out of bread, or we'd eaten it while they were out. I told her to go herself, and she went berserk. I don't think I should film the exact words she used, but I was forced to go, and we had a family called Carroll across the way from us. And we were quite a nice community, really, because there were other families who attended our school as well. So we used to all get together and play piggy or play rounders. And the mothers used to join in. One little lady lived down the street called Mrs. Clark, and she used to be the bowler. And she was as round as she was tall, but could she bowl? And then my sister, who was 4 years younger than myself, when it was her turn, she was all right while she was batting, but when it was her turn to field, she didn't want to. And Mrs. Clark used to call her a snake. So, yeah. But we were quite a close family, and they used to sit out on stools outside the door and watch us children playing. Across the street, we'd play Tig Out Tig and statues, and Mrs. Clark used to always turn the skipping rope. We'd a huge skipping rope that we used to all play with.
Thanks, Joan. That's just one more thing before we move to talk about working in a weaving shed, and that is, could you explain the game Piggy?
Oh, Piggy?
Yes.
It's where you...
Just say what the Piggy is.
Yeah, the Piggy is a little block of wood that's shaped to a point at one end, and you struck it with a bat or another piece of wood and then whacked it as far as you could. And then you had to run for base. Very similar to rounders, but not as far as going round all 4 posts. Yeah. So, yeah, we used to play Piggy.
Okay. Thanks for all those memories. I'd like you to explain about the weaving sheds that you worked in and what it was like working particularly in Kershaw's weaving shed.
Yeah. Kershaw's weaving shed. By this time I was married and had 1 son. And I used to have a little old lady used to mind him while I went to work at Kershaw's. She lived on the way to Kershaw's, so it wasn't out of my way to take him. And mills were very dirty then. There were oil and fluff and dust, and there was all sorts of things floating around. And I used to weave sheets at Kershaw's mill. They were hand looms. You'd call them hand looms because they weren't automatic. Automatic means that you've got a battery that it changes the shuttle for you. With hand looms, you had to stop the machine while you changed the shuttle yourself, which meant a cop, which is a tube of cotton slipped into, like put on a skewer and it slipped into the shuttle. And then you had to draw the thread through with your breath. And some people brought the teeth on them and stained the teeth and different things. Luckily, I've kept mine. Yes, and we had canteen. The meals were quite good. So you had to do so many picks. Each line across was a pick. Each thread towards you from a beam at the back was called warp, and the cotton in the shuttle was called weft. So yeah, we used to watch for the cotton getting down, then you'd have to stop the loom, change the shuttle so that you didn't get marks in your cloth. Sometimes something would go awry and the shuttle would fly out of the loom, and it has been known for them to hit people. Luckily, I was never hit, but sometimes it just got trapped and the shedding would come, bash against it and break all the ends out. Then you had to call the overlooker.
Sorry, can I stop you there? What happened? Okay, I'm recording.
So then there was the shedding, and if the shuttle got caught in between one end and the other, that would break. It would break all the threads, and you'd have to redo them. We had good teachers because some women had been doing it for years, and we were all very friendly. We used to sing top of our voices because it was very noisy. You had to lip read most of the time because of the noise. But we were a very friendly group. One lady I used to work with, she was a German lady, and she wasn't only young, and she was getting married, so I made a wedding cake for her. And then when she came to collect it, I was very upset because I hadn't thought my dad had been wounded with a shrapnel bomb from a bomb that the Germans had dropped. And I said to Dad afterwards, I'm sorry, Dad, I didn't even think. He said, love, they were good and bad on both sides. So you can't blame the girl, you know. So, yeah, we got round that. And I've made quite a few friends in the mill, yeah. It was we were very close, people that worked in the weaving sheds. You had to be because you helped each other. And it just made you close.
Tell
Tell us a bit more about the singing. Were there certain people who started singing and chose the songs?
Yes, you usually went with the beat of the loom, you know.
Start from the beginning about the singing, yeah.
Well, you usually went with the beat of the loom. You'd sing Me and My Shadow, and can't really remember. Oh, Tulips in Amsterdam, and all the old songs that was going at the time. In fact, my father's favourite tune was Tulips from Amsterdam. So yes, and then it'd go on to, I don't think some of the more modern songs were going when I worked at Kershaw's, actually. So yes, it was just the older songs and Somewhere Over the Rainbow and all that, you know, all those type of songs. No, can't think of any more.
Okay, Joan, I think that's it. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry I've done a lot of erring in between.